What's going on, everyone? It's Bob with Cinephellas. On this episode of the podcast, I talked to Anna Gutto. She wrote a movie, Paradise Highway, stars Morgan Freeman, Frank Grillo, Cameron Monaghan. Streaming and in theaters right now. Give a listen as we talk about the origin of the screenplay, the fact that she got Morgan Freeman into her film, and also her origins of her career. Have a listen, and I hope you enjoy.
Hi, Bob. Nice, very nice to meet you.
Hi,
I
Anna.
love
How
your
are you today?
background there. What's that from? Is that from like Jane Doe or something?
Funny thing is, my last name's Ward. So I was doing a
Mm.
podcast and they kept saying the mental ward and all that. So I just put this behind me
Oh, I see. I see.
being a single father of two kids, it feels like this at times.
Oh my God, I know. I mean, I'm not a single mom, but I also have two kids, and yes,
How old are your kids?
5 and 9.
Uh, 7 and 9. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you've been through,
Boys,
yeah,
girls, or a mixture?
two boys.
Oh God, same here. Same here. It's a blast, isn't it?
It is a blast. It is a blast. 99% of the time, it's a blast.
And that 1% is when the gray hairs start coming in.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
so I got to watch Paradise Highway. I gotta say it's a far stretch from your Home for Christmas movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But yeah.
what's your origin of the screenplay, the story? What started all this?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to comment first, like, obviously with Home for Christmas, that was another director's show. And then I came in and did a third for him, because I sort of came in on that. So it's very different than to helm something. Yeah, no, Paradise Highway is in line with the type of stories that I do, which are stories that deal with something that's underexposed or characters one hasn't seen before, something that deals with something where I feel like I haven't seen that movie before. And but when you ask about kind of the seed for it, I guess I would say that the seed comes from this thing when I was a teenager. It turned out that there had been a brothel in my friend's building, and obviously that's a long time ago, but it was so like it really shook me to realize that trafficking had been going on right under my nose. And I think at the time I didn't even realize that it was called trafficking. I didn't even realize kind of what that whole phenomenon was. And then, years later, as this had always kind of been bugging me, I lived in New York. I was an exchange student in Indiana, and I and I and I sort of realized how prominent trafficking is, and I started wanting to make a story on it because I wanted to do something about it. Right? We all want to do something about problems that we see, and for me, that has to be then stories that I feel like is my best way to try. And I wanted to make a film that people wanted to see, a film that was entertaining and that people wanted to go to the theater and see. I didn't want to make just an issue movie. I didn't want to make a documentary. So as I started kind of researching and this and that and the other, and then eventually it became this movie, Paradise Highway, and with this female trucker, and it became everything that this movie is.
Absolutely. There was a real good dynamic there. I'm always a fan of bigger things, how could I put it? The bigger picture, especially now with as big as trafficking is and how it's been brought up around everyone, you know what I mean? It's very prevalent in the news.
Yeah.
Now, so obviously you have an amazing cast. I have to ask, was Morgan Freeman always like, was this his role to lose? Did you write this role specifically with him in mind?
No, I didn't. I didn't. But I also never do that because I never write for an actor, because then it's an actor. I write a character. That's so, like, let's say for his character, I've had an FBI consultant involved in the movie since the script stage, and the Garrick role existed before I started talking with him, but then it formed a lot from the conversations with him. and stories that he would tell me, and funny things that he told me that, he or other agents would have said to younger agents. And so it was not written for him. But then once he got involved, then obviously in the next few rounds of revisions that I did, then obviously knowing it was him, it would color how I would form certain scenes.
Yeah, so what was the casting process like? Where did you send it to him? Did he just pick up on it?
With Morgan, we already had Juliet on board, and we sent it to him. And actually, at the time, yeah, this is right. At the time, we had, he sort of his people were interested in the script, but they said he usually doesn't do characters that are more than 2-3 days, because he is over 80 now. He usually doesn't do things that are a lot of days. So I actually wrote a different character that I did write for him. But then when they read the script, and when he read the script, he wanted to do this character. He wanted to do the bigger character. So then we ended up shooting with him, almost half the shoot days were with him. Yeah, so that's actually, and then that other character ended up going out again. So that's actually how it happened in terms of, but yeah, we sent the script to him, and he wanted to do it. And I'm sure it had a lot to do with Juliet, because who doesn't want to work with Juliet?
I got it. Yeah, because I gotta say, like, when you get a Morgan Freeman in there, like, people are automatically gonna, check the movie out, or at least immediately just be like, oh, okay, well, if he's in, then I'm in. A lot of people follow actors from movie to movie.
Yeah.
I did not realize he was over 80, so that he's aging gracefully, I guess.
I know. I wish I could be like that when I'm over 80.
Seems like he's got more energy than me, and I'm in my 40s.
I know. No, I was like, I was amazed by him.
No, I gotta say, Cameron Monaghan, the kid, he really picks up this movie. Obviously Shameless, Gotham. He has acting chops, but I feel like this really helped him establish himself in something different.
I agree with you. I think he stepped, he had no problem standing his ground with Morgan Freeman. And that's, he was right there with him. I agree. I think this is really, I hope that people will really notice Cameron in this character, because it shows even more of what Cameron is capable of. And I mean, he's shown a lot of talent for years, but I think this movie shows an even deeper strength in him.
And it's funny because with him teaming with Morgan Freeman, and it's funny because although the movie had nothing to do with it, I had a Seven vibe, just because I remember Morgan Freeman and the young actor here and
Brad Pitt. Yeah,
exactly. Like I almost put Cameron in the Brad Pitt role just because of, like I said, the young buck with the seasoned vet. And I gotta say, it not that this movie reminded me of Seven in any way, but the dynamic there really kind of made me reminisce.
Yeah, I mean, when we were filming, there were a couple of times that people on the crew or things would comment, and it's funny because I haven't seen Seven since that came out, and I know there are tons of people who have like Seven as their favorite movie, and it never was my favorite movie. I thought it was a strong movie, but it wasn't quite my thing. So it's funny because I don't remember all of those scenes. I don't remember, but I know that for some people it has that it brings back that memory for them, and that's okay. I'm perfectly fine with that. I hope this will be a breakout part for Cameron and for people to see him in these types of roles, and because I think Cameron has a stellar career ahead of him. He's also just incredibly nice to work with, and a great person, and generous, which I feel like I was so lucky. I only had really generous and wonderful actors on this movie.
That's a blessing to have. Then you hear all the horror stories out there of certain
Yeah,
actors being hard.
although I always feel like, being an actor is a very hard job. And I always feel like I'm always a little skeptical when people tell horror stories, because I think sometimes one also have to remember how tough of a job it is to deliver the most vulnerable of yourself for several hours every day. That yes, I'm always a little skeptical when people talk about that. But for me, for sure, on this movie, I only had incredibly generous and and just so talented and professional actors. So I certainly was lucky.
So now with this, getting ready to premiere and everything like that, it's a weird question to ask, especially since you just finished this, but is there another project on the horizon? Is there a dream project you're working on?
Well, I have a couple of projects that I am writing and developing myself, and that I think are incredibly exciting. But I think chances are the next project I'll direct will probably be something that another person has written, because I'm in conversations with a couple of projects that I'm very excited about, and but that I unfortunately can't talk about yet. Um, but yeah, no, chances are the next thing I do will be something someone else has written. But I do also have a couple of projects that will be long-term developments that I will do in between and along the way.
Another thing I like to ask a lot of writers, directors, anything like that, what genre is something you would love to attack?
It's funny you ask, because I like that things have a genre, and that it has the possibility of attracting a wider audience. But I really love most genres, because I the only genre that is not really for me to tackle is like horror is probably the only genre that I'm not so interested in. And it's I other people are better than that, better at that than me. Of course there are certain horror movies that I could do and that I would love to do, but I feel like that's the only one. But other than that, I mean, obviously, as you see from this movie, I like things that have a drive. I like things that have, so I mean, I do want to do action, but it will be character driven action. It will be action that has real character, that has drive, and that has real depth to it, and that's probably dealing with something important. And I love heist movies, I have to say.
Right.
Actually, one of my shorts when I graduated from Columbia was called Mommy Heist, and was three moms and a baby doing a heist. So that's I have a love for that. So there's definitely different things that I want to do, but I'm not so concerned about genre itself, because I would love to delve into different genres, but it's what it's about is the characters and the story and how you use the camera and what's right for that particular movie. What's the way for for that particular movie to be successful on the screen, to attract audiences, and to tell the story in a powerful way. That's what's important.
Oh, absolutely agreed. You could always write a Western. I feel like those are making a comeback now.
Well, what a Paradise Highway is almost a Western. I always talk about how Sally is one with her truck, just as a cowboy is one with his horse.
Yeah, I
You
didn't even
know,
I didn't even think of that, but yeah,
and
absolutely.
that and that and that the same way that a cowboy and his horse are one with the landscape around them, Sally and her truck are one with the landscape around them. So in a way, Paradise Highway is a Western.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it that way, but I can definitely see that line of thinking. Now, is there any social media I can point our listeners to?
Yeah, I mean, I have my Instagram at Anna Gutto. just my name without anything. And on Facebook, I'm also just Anna Gutto. That's it. Yeah, I don't have Twitter. I've never had time to Twitter around, but yeah, you can guide them to those too. And then I hope you and I hope everyone else gets a chance to see the movie in the theater, because it's actually coming in theaters, which is exciting.
Oh, it's very cool. Yeah, absolutely. With everything coming out strictly to streaming for during the pandemic, it's nice to see things going back to theater.
Yeah, yeah, and it's important. It's an important part of the
Well,
film.
Anna, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate everything. I wish you all the best in these new projects. I'm excited to see where this future leads you.
Yes, thank you so much. It was a great conversation, Bob.
All right, thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thanks.
And there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed that as much as I did. Again, the movie's Paradise Highway streaming and in select theaters right now. So, again, this is Bob from Cinephellas, and until next time, peace.